Well, welcome to Saturday morning. Yes, this is Radio Free Professional Wrestling. I am Shawn with my tag team partner, Ashlee, and we may have some bad blood this week about some things that happened in the week of professional wrestling, but we're going to preview WWE Bad Blood literally 12 hours from now. Ashlee, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't think it was all bad in the week of professional wrestling this week, but got possibly one of the better WWE pay-per-views of the year coming up, depending on the output here.
You know, this card from top to bottom looks like one of the best that WWE has put forward this year. And yes, we are getting 5 matches and only 5 matches. It's like Triple H went from NXT takeovers and went, hey, this works. Let's just use the formula here on the main roster, and we only need 5 freaking matches. Now, WWE Bad Blood will start at the special start time at 6 p.m. Eastern this evening, simply for the fact that the UFC is also running a show tonight, and it's UFC 307, and it starts at 10. So this is why WWE is starting at 6.
Smart move. We're seeing a lot of preemptions going on this week for some sporting events and things like that, so it makes sense to start early with the UFC especially.
So me and Ashley are going to give you our picks on who we think will win the matches at WWE Bad Blood. And we're starting off with a match that is rumored to be the opening match of the night. And we're going to talk about CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Hell in a Cell to kick off the show. Ashley, is this the right match to kick off the show with, or would you choose something else?
Um, I think it's kind of a great way to open the show. We've seen that formula work in wrestling promotions before, putting on a hot opener to get everybody into it. I don't see why not. It's just, especially not being for a title or anything or involving a title. I could see it definitely opening the show and getting everybody ready for the rest of these matches.
True. And this is one of the first WWE Premium Live events I can remember that neither the WWE World Heavyweight title is on the line or the Undisputed Universal title is on the line. Neither of the men's single titles are on the line this evening.
Very true, but I still think with the kind of especially like the Cody Roman thing, revolving around the World Championship, I could see something like that, especially with the star power of Cody and Roman, obviously as well, being more the main event.
Okay, so getting back to CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre here, I'm gonna take CM Punk for the victory here. I feel like this needs to be the culmination of this feud, and it's been one hell of a feud that we haven't seen since the beginning of the year. And it got extended because CM Punk got injured. But CM Punk enters Hell in a Cell, defeats Drew McIntyre, and maybe spins off into the feud with Ethan Page. If you happen to notice NXT this week, he gave a go to sleep to Ethan Page after he lost the NXT title to Trick.
Yeah, it seems the most logical way to go, especially with Drew getting the victory before. I could definitely see CM Punk getting his win back, kind of overcoming Drew finally and all of his taunts and stuff like that. But yeah, I think CM Punk has definitely got to be the pick.
Okay, so we'll go on to the next match that we're thinking about. It's going to be the WWE Women's Championship match. It's Nia Jax versus Bayley. And we got to remember that Nia Jax's quote unquote best friend, Tiffany Stratton, has a Money in the Bank case. And they literally teased the heck out of it on SmackDown last night in Nashville that she may catch the sucker in. So who knows that if Tiffany might get involved in this match coming up tonight. But I'm going to say Nia Jax retains her title here because I still think there's some money left to be made with Nia Jax as your WWE Women's Champion. And I think Bayley has moved to a point in her career where she doesn't really need a title. What do you think, Ashley?
I agree. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to her winning the title again, but I could definitely see somebody, especially of her caliber, losing to maybe some shenanigans, or maybe, like you said, Tiffany Stratton finally choosing to like maybe cash in at the last moment or something like that. We've even seen, somebody like in Stratton's position cost Bayley the match or something. That way she can kind of Trojan horse Nia, essentially, like attack her when she's least expecting it, you know? So I could definitely see something like that. I think Nia is the pick, but like you said, Bailey is one of the top women in WWE. She's made.
True. They could give the title to Bailey. Then you spin Nia and Tiffany off into a tag team feud with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, and you have Nia Jax and Tiffany win the titles and they are champions, still with Tiffany starting to have that money in bank briefcase. And maybe down the road, when Tiffany decides to cash it in, Nia's the one that turns on Tiffany and causes Tiffany her cash in.
Yeah, you could definitely do something like that. I kind of like that she's very heavily teasing this with this match coming up, so I'm going to be very interested to see if she ends up cashing in. I think I would like to see it.
And if she cashes in on Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton is going to be the biggest baby face in the WWE.
Hey, they were pushing her to the moon. I don't see why they won't continue.
Oh, if you saw the match last night on SmackDown between her and Naomi, they had one hell of a match. And if we were doing a top 5 matches of the week, it would clearly be on my list. So let's go to the third match on the card here, WWE Bad Blood. We'll go to Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. And I gotta say, I feel like this is going to be a Finn Balor victory. This feud has just gotten to a new level, and I feel like there's more money to be made here. And the Judgment Day can't lose every match on this card tonight. They need one victory, and I feel like this is where you can get a victory for Judgment Day.
Yeah, I feel like there's this match and another match where we may see some Judgment Day shenanigans.
Oh, let me tell you, I got a feeling that there's some Judgment Day interference coming up in a couple of these matches, like you said. So you're going with me. You're going with Finn Balor to beat Damian Priest here, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know if it'll be Dom, but I see somebody coming down and helping him. Whether it's attacking Damian Priest or pulling the ref out or something, I definitely see some involvement here.
Well, let's go on to the other Judgment Day match this evening as we have the Women's World Champion Liv Morgan facing Rhea Ripley. And the stipulation right now is Dominic Mysterio is inside a shark cage. Now, we don't know if the shark cage is going to be up on the stage somewhere or if it's going to be hanging over the ring. Since I heard the stipulation, I was thinking like, oh, it hangs over the ring and Dirty Dom drops down the chain or drops down the brass knuckles to Liv, and that's how you finish this match because it's the most classic way to play this match.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough to go against Liv with that whole Judgment Day backing her right now. Again, I possibly see some shenanigans going on in this one. I think it might hurt, but I think Liv might win.
Yeah, I still think Liv needs this title more than Rhea Ripley does. And like Bailey, Rhea Ripley has moved to a point where she doesn't need a title. She makes the title, whatever title she gets, she makes it. In the case of Liv Morgan, that WWE title elevates Liv Morgan.
Yeah, and I think right now with the way this is playing out, a little bit longer of a chase from Rhea Ripley towards Liv with the title, I think is kind of in order.
I think so too. I think like we're just. I hate to borrow the Paul Heyman saying, but I feel like we're in the third inning of this story, and there's a lot more to tell about it. Well, speaking of somebody that Paul Heyman used to be a manager of, we'll go to the main event of the evening as unlikely tag team partners Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns are facing off against the Bloodline members of Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. So, Ashley, can the unlikely tag team of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, can Captain America and Thanos get along just long enough to win this match, or are we going to see in games and we're going to see the breakdown of this tag team?
This one is tough because I feel like they're the obvious choice to win. Like, I don't feel like they're going to lose, but could you imagine giving Jacob Fatu this win? You want to immediately put somebody in your main event scene? There you go.
See, I'm gonna go with the Bloodline. I feel like the Bloodline needs this victory. I feel like Solo needs this victory, and like you said, giving Jacob Fatu the visual pin on Cody, not Roman. You save that for later. Then you spin Jacob Fatu off into a feud with Cody for the title. And then Solo's looking like, dude,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
my
exactly.
enforcer. I'm the tribal chief. It should be my title shot.
Yeah, and we could see maybe some of that tribal chief like muscle come into play, where they may demand something of the others in their family. Um, I think that would be a good way to go, especially like you said, giving Jacob the actual victory and having Solo Sokoa be like off to the side, a little upset about everything. I think it's like a natural way to spin off either Jacob breaking away or maybe even just chaos in this newer version of the Bloodline.
True. Now, the highly unlikely theory I got in my head is maybe The Rock shows up tonight in Atlanta and things are not going well for the new bloodline and he comes in and saves the day for the new bloodline and that's how we get the ball rolling to next WrestleMania and we get Rock versus Roman finally and it's going to be The Rock playing the godfather of the new bloodline and he's going to be like these kids can't get the job done so I'm going to have to do it myself.
That would be good.
So that has been our WWE Bad Blood preview here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. We'll have to wait till next week to see how good or bad our predictions are. But I cannot wait for this card this evening. Let's slide over to the control center to catch you up on the week of wrestling news.
This is your Radio Free Pro Wrestling Control Center. All the wrestling news you need to know.
And Ashley, my first news story was brought to me by you, as last Friday night it was reported that Luchasaurus was found in his hotel room unresponsive. He was taken to the hospital and he was diagnosed with pneumonia in both his lungs. And what was scary about it was his oxygen level was at 80%. Now, me personally, I have had my oxygen levels that low due to my asthma. And as soon as I saw the percentage, I'm going like, oh, that's not great. And we just want to wish Luchasaurus slash Kill Shot, Kill Switch, a speedy recovery.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A very, very scary situation. And thankfully, he was able to get to the hospital in time. And it says it looks like he's going to be clear in recovery. Should be about a month or so, they said. But hopefully, it takes as much time as he needs.
Very true. We just want to wish him a very speedy recovery. And that was a very scary situation. Honestly, I was hospitalized with pneumonia, so I really do sympathize with a kill switch in that situation. My second news story for you this week was NXT on CW was the highest rated NXT episode this year. The average viewership was almost 900,000 viewers, and it peaked in the first 15 minutes of the show, which was also Julia versus Roseanne Perez, where it was nearly 900,000 people watching the show. I got to say, that was one excellent episode of NXT, and what a great way to debut on your new network.
Yeah, good way to start off. And they showed a good, I would say, like rotation of talent on there.
And that show also had a main event where we saw Trick Williams become a two-time NXT Men's Champion as he defeated All Eagle Ethan Page. And after the match, we saw CM Punk give a go to sleep to Ethan Page. Staying with NXT for a second, if you are a member of the Peacock Network, you may notice that most of the NXT library has been removed from the Peacock service. All that is up there right now are the NXT takeovers and NXT Level Up, which was a show that the WWE just literally canceled maybe a month ago. Now, all the new NXT episodes will be up on the CW app. So if you're an NXT fan, make sure you download the CW app. That's where you'll be able to catch up on NXT wrestling. It is not knowing yet if any of the back catalog of NXT will be on the CW app. But since that was a USA property, I doubt it's going to be.
Yeah, that's going to be, I feel, a little bit tricky at least.
My hope is once we get WWE with Netflix, maybe they'll slide the back catalog of NXT into the WWE library on Netflix. I got my fingers crossed for that because there's a lot of great stuff on NXT, and now we can't access it because it's gone to a new network.
Right.
And my last
There's
news
a
story.
lot of weird stuff with streaming, man.
Very, very true. Well, AEW has got access to streaming now as they announced their new TV deal with Warner Bros. Discovery. And this deal is broken down this way. It's 3 years with an also fourth year by WB Discovery. And I got to say, they will be offering later in 2025 AEW pay-per-views at a discount price. So we're going with the UFC model where you need to be a subscriber to Max. Then you get a discount on the pay-per-views. You don't get the pay-per-views like Peacock where it's $9.99 a month for everything.
Yeah, I'm hoping with the max price that's going to be a decent discount. I mean, if you're discounting it to still like $30, I mean it's like $5 you're saving. I'm hoping to see it more along the lines of at least like $24.99 or something for a discounted rate. But looking forward to hopefully having access to older Dynamites, anything you kind of want to watch. I'd love to see them kind of get everything up there as much as they can. Anyway.
Very true. And it's going to make me rethink about me leaving my Max account. I was about ready to leave it. Now I got to think, do I want to hang on to it so I can see some of the older AEW stuff?
I was like, they're going to make me add another streaming service.
Oh, let me tell you, 2025 is going to be a very expensive year if you're a professional wrestling fan and you want to watch everything. Because now you're going to have Peacock, you're going to have Max, you're going to need Netflix. So
right. And I already pay for also Ring of Honor and New Japan Stardom. Killing me, man.
well, with me, I still pay for Progress, and I have a subscription to a couple other independent wrestling companies where now I'm having to sit down and go like, which ones do I really, really wanted to keep and watch because I'm going to have to think which ones do I need to have in 2025. So stay tuned, everybody. That has been your Control Center here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling for October the 5th, 2024. Let's go over to a hybrid segment. It is our top 5, but it's not our top 5 matches of the week. It is our top 5-ish people we want to see Shelton Benjamin face in AEW. Says, oh, by the way, if you did watch Dynamite this past Wednesday, Shelton Benjamin made his debut on AEW TV and may have broke the internet.
Yeah, the 5-ish is my fault because I can't ever narrow it down to the amount of slots I'm given. I have to always overdo it.
So we are going to start with Ashlee's honorable mentions. So Ashlee, give us your honorable mentions in your list of people you want to see Shelton Benjamin wrestle.
All right, so some of my honorable mentions that I'll throw on there. First off, I'll throw Swerve in the honorable mentions only because I feel like this is kind of the inevitable way we're going, but I still want to see it. I'm hoping we get to it right away. I would like to see him face Samoa Joe. Somebody maybe who doesn't get the attention, somebody like a Josh Woods or Anthony Henry. I think they could have a really good match. Depending on if DG stays, I'd love to see Daniel Garcia and him. And then I'll put the last one on there. Takeshita. I want to see him take on the world right now. I think he would have a good match with anybody, so.
Oh, Takeshita was almost on my list of top 5 people I wanted him to wrestle against, and I was debating a few people. I was trying to keep it to 5, and my number 5 personally is going to be Brody King. I don't know if they interacted when they were both in Ring of Honor back in the day, but dude, that match will freaking rock.
Yeah, Brody King kind of showed off during the C2, and unfortunately, we haven't really gotten to see him do much more in the singles. So get him in a singles match with Shelton. That'd be great.
So, Ashley, who would you slot in at number 5 on your list?
Oh my lord, so many options. Um, maybe I'll start the list here, number 5, with Kyle Fletcher. A young guy who's having a great run right now. I think working with somebody like Shelton Benjamin would be great for him.
Oh, I would love to see a Kyle Fletcher versus Shelton Benjamin match. I feel like they would gel so well together. And you have that veteran who could look across the ring and see a guy who's kind of like what he was back in the day. And Kyle Fletcher can see a person that he could possibly be in the future. And you could play either way. You either have Kyle lose because he's inexperienced, or maybe Shelton got a little bit overconfident and Kyle got the sneaky victory. I'll be for either way you play the match.
Yeah, I like I said, that run he's been on lately with the singles matches, I think it would be really good.
Okay, so my number 4 pick, they may have a match in WWE history that I am not thinking about right now, but give me Father of the Year, the Patriarch, Christian Cage versus Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, I didn't. I honestly don't know why I didn't think of Christian. Yeah, honestly, the run that he's had in AEW, why not?
I need to go on the WWE network to see if this ever happened. If it did happen, I need to go back and see what they did.
I
But
was having this same issue making the list. I was like, I don't know if some of these matches for some of these names I've had have like happened in the past. I have so much wrestling, like, you can't remember everything.
you like they are mirror images of each other. They wrestle kind of the same style of wrestling, and I think they could freaking cook. And I want to see this happen. So, who is your number 4?
So number 4, who do I want to go with here? Um, maybe let's go. I still have more names on it. Maybe MJF. I know he's out for a little bit, but MJF is the kind of guy who he kind of takes some flack because he doesn't wrestle as often as other wrestlers, but once he goes in, he knows how to shut everybody up immediately about that.
Yeah, I can see those guys having a good match. And for somebody like Shelton Benjamin, you know that MJF is going to put in the work to get a great match out of Shelton Benjamin. And dude, Shelton can still freaking go. So this
Right, and
could
then
be
give me some
a
MVP and MJF back and forth on the microphone leading up to it.
oh yeah. That would be worth the price of admission right there. Those two guys just verbally cutting each other down would be great. Okay, so you already mentioned my number 3 person on my list, and it is Daniel Garcia. And hopefully he is signed with AEW and he's going to stay with the company because I need this match to happen. Because Daniel Garcia versus Shelton Benjamin would be a fun match. It would be like Leon Slater versus Shelton Benjamin, kind of the same format. Is where a young high flyer, somebody who can go super fast, can chain wrestle with Shelton Benjamin, and Benjamin can guide them to a great match. And at the end of the day, both people will be elevated.
Yeah, that's kind of why he was only on my honorable mentions list, just because I'm unsure of what his status is at the moment. But I think that honestly, like, that could be the match, you know?
Okay, so who is your number 3 person on your list?
Depending on who I want to put at 3. Maybe I'll put Okada at 3. Which is crazy.
Okay, so Okada is on my list. I'll put Okada off to the side right now, but as soon as I saw Shelton Benjamin on AEW TV, the first person that popped into my mind was freaking Okada. I'm going like, I know we're not getting New Japan Pro Wrestling Nakata, but give me this slime ball cheating heel Okada that we are doing in AEW versus Shelton Benjamin and make Shelton the babyface. I'm like, yeah, please, that would work.
Yeah, Okada kind of coming off that wonky stipulation, but very good match with Bryan Danielson. I'd kind of like if we're gonna bring all that in, like give me like MVP and the Elite instead, like versus the Elite with this new Hurt. I guess Hurt Syndicate. Rumors are Bobby Lashley is signed, so they're coming in. So if they kind of do the Hurt, I could see them. I want to see them go against like every top faction AEW has right now.
And you know what? AEW needs a babyface fashion right now because every freaking fashion they have right now seems to be on the hillside. You have the Elite. You have whatever John Moxley's group is. Do they keep the Blackpool Combat Club name, or are they going to drift off to something else? I mean, like, where's the babyface fashion to stand for the company? I know Daniel Bryan's declaring war, but he really doesn't have a crew right now.
Right. Seemingly Wheeler Yuta has his back, but I feel like that might be short lived.
Yeah, I got a feeling that maybe Daniel Bryan is playing the role of Sting, and maybe Wheeler Yuta is not totally on the right side of this ledger. What does that wait to see? So getting back to our list, my number 2 is Dax Harwood. Dax the Axe has had some of the best single matches in AEW history. And dude, why not Shelton Benjamin versus Dax? I mean, like, that would be freaking amazing. If somehow, some way, we could get Charlie Haas out of retirement for a second, world's greatest tag team versus FTR. Yes, please.
Oh my god, let's put that in the universe right now.
I mean, like, dude, one time this Wrestle Dream. Next year's Wrestle Dream. Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas versus FTR. Let's put it in the universe.
Why not? Do it.
So who is your number 2?
So number 2, I'm gonna go with Shibata. Um, Shibata's been killing it. And he, with his injury concerns and past, kind of has a slower, more methodical approach, and I think it's something that could be evenly matched out with the older Shelton Benjamin. And I think with the quality of work Shibata has, the quality of work Shelton Benjamin has, I think they build that up. I think we could have something really good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. Shibata was my number 1 with Okada. I was having to flip a coin. I couldn't decide which one I want to use. So we'll do Shibata as my number 1. And it's a perfect chance for Shelton Benjamin to show off his amateur wrestling background. And they can have a more mat-based, mat-centric wrestling match. And boy, it'd be entertaining as hell.
Yeah, I definitely think their styles would gel. And like I said, Shibata's kind of, I don't want to say he's like working half rate or anything. He's certainly not, but he's a little more toned down. We know we can't, can't take any more concussions and things like that. So obviously you want to be careful. And I think like this older Shelton Benjamin could come in, and I think they would just pair well.
Agreed. I feel like that would be a excellent. You know what? That could be his first feud in AEW. That'd be kind of cool. If you want to make another heel faction and Hurt Syndicate be another heel faction in AEW, why not have Shelton Benjamin have a feud with Shibata to start out? I mean, cool, fine. But no, Tony, please no more heel fashions in AEW. We don't need it.
Yeah, and I feel like we got to figure out the orientation of some. Like House of Black feels a little tweener right now.
Ashley, the House of Black may come up in the 76 questions, as we are going to talk about the 5-year history of AEW Dynamite since they had their 5th anniversary show this past Wednesday night. So let's get to our stunning 6 questions of the week.
Time to ring the bell. As Shawn and Ashlee debate 6 stunning questions from the week of wrestling. All the whys. And what the hell was that?
And my friend, my first stunning question for you this week is going to be, which Will Ospreay versus Ricochet match do you prefer? Do you prefer their junior heavyweight match in New Japan Pro Wrestling or do you prefer their 5th anniversary match on AEW Dynamite? Do tell.
Um, so I'll say I think in ring wise, I think I enjoyed the New Japan match more, but I do like the story beats coming out of this one. Getting Konosuke Takeshita involved in this is just fantastic for me.
I mean, I can see where people who enjoy the junior heavyweight match more, I see why they could complain about the match on Wednesday night being kind of weird because we didn't get a clean finish. But we did get a opening sequence that looked awfully familiar to the junior heavyweight match they had a few years ago. And me personally, I like the AEW match just a little bit more because Tateshi got down there, interfered in the match, save us from having had the one person eat a feud. We call it eat a pin in this feud. I mean, like, Ricochet just got there. You don't want to give him a loss just yet. Will Ospreay already had a couple losses. We don't need to give Will Ospreay a loss right now. And look, we get a triple threat for the international title, possibly. Sign me up for this triple threat of Ricochet versus Tateshi versus Will Ospreay. I mean, like, that's not going to be a bad match.
Yeah, I mean, we had a promo, like, not a promo, a backstage segment, I would say, before Will Ospreay's match started, where Don Callis and Takeshita bumped into him. They kind of have a little back and forth before Don Callis leaves. And it's very interesting because we don't know if this is just Takeshita's jealousy that's been boiling over for the past couple of months with Ospreay and Don Callis and stuff, or if Don Callis kind of finally put a hit out on Ospreay, so to say.
Well, I know we'll probably find out down the road here. So I gotta say, if you want to go check out a good Will Ospreay match versus Ricochet, go over to YouTube, check out What Culture Pro Wrestling because they had a few in What Culture Pro Wrestling. And I just love bringing up What Culture Pro Wrestling because I know David listens to the podcast and it drives him up the wall. So hey, hi David. So my second Sunday question this week is back from NXT this past Tuesday night, as Roxanne Perez defeated Julia on the debut as NXT on CW. Now, granted, there's a little help from Cora J who made her return, and that caused the distraction where Roxanne Perez was able to roll up Julia to retain her title. So, Ashlee, did this match live up to the hype that we thought it was going to be?
I think so. And I definitely think Roxanne is kind of like the big winner coming out of this. It's not to put like Julia down or anything, but I think kind of her showing in this was, I think, better than a lot of people expected against somebody who a lot of people consider one of the best women's wrestlers in the world right now. And I think it proved to WWE and NXT that it's like you've invested in the correct person, like as your champion right now.
You know, a lot of times you will have this new debuting star come into NXT and they will literally win every single time against whoever the champion was. And I was so happy that Roxanne Perez didn't suffer that fate. She has been running that division. She's one of the focal points of the women's division in NXT. She's one hell of a wrestler. And they had a damn good match. And both of them got over with the crowd. The Chicago crowd was eating it up. And now Julia has a reason to go after Cora Jade because she cost Julia the title. You can spin that feud off and you can go back to Roxanne Perez versus Julia down the road. And maybe then Julia will become the next NXT Women's Champion. It was just not meant to be on the debut of NXT on CW.
Yeah, no, it perfectly makes sense. Like you said, I think this is. I'm hoping this will go on for a little bit. Even if Julia spins off for a bit, we kind of at least stay close by. That way we can quickly intertwine back in.
True. And also, I was thinking, who could you put with Julia to make a tag team to go after Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade?
I don't know. I think there's a few names you could put in there. I don't know if would you pair up with an NXT original?
I don't know. See, if Asuka wasn't answered, I would say Asuka would be my choice. Maybe you get one of the Kabuki Warriors, like Kari Singh. Maybe she comes back down to NXT for a couple of weeks and teams up with Julia. Have that connection with the Japanese wrestlers versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. I think that'd be kind of cool. Or
That would be
maybe
awesome.
I think it would be great. I think like they can have some killer matches. I'm like, and we can just extend this Julia run here before we crown her as the next NXT Women's Champion. So my next standing question for you comes from Monday Night Raw. As for weeks now, we have been watching the tension build in a New Day. So my question to you, Ashley, is who should turn heel? Should it be Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston?
This is tough because I feel like I would like Xavier Woods to turn heel. I feel like Kofi has a very good natural babyface energy that they should channel into it. But Kofi as the heel would be very interesting. Like, it would be such a 180 from who he is that I kind of almost want it more.
When I found this question, I was going down the road of Xavier Woods be my choice because I feel like Xavier would be a damn good heel. Then I got to thinking, it would be interesting to see Kofi Kingston as a heel. What would that be like? I know it would be a big risk. I guess it would be a big risk, but he's so far in his career. He has so much capital build up. I feel like the fans would be okay with him taking this divergence into a different character. And maybe it's Kofi Kingston who gets fed up of Xavier Woods being mad all the time and screwing things up. And Kofi is the one that says, like, beat this, I'm done for the New Day. And he goes off in his own direction. And he's the one who turns heel.
It would be nice to see kind of like a harder edge side of Kofi, like something we haven't really seen that much from him. I feel like I want it more because it feels like the less obvious choice. Like, it feels like I feel like Xavier Woods could turn heel, and I'd be like, yes, believable. 110% he's a heel now. I get it, but I feel like Kofi, like, it might take me a few weeks to like adjust to him being heel.
Exactly. I mean, like, if you're watching Monday Night Raw for the last couple of weeks, every time Xavier Woods gets on TV, there should be like this big blinking red sign over his head, like, "Hi, heel turn incoming. Heel turn incoming."
Yeah.
So my next stunning question for you. We were talking about the AEW new deal with Discovery Time Warner. And I got to think, there's something missing there, Ashley. There was no mention of Ring of freaking Honor. So where does this leave Ring of Honor in the grand slams of all things AEW-ish?
I don't know. I feel after this week it's a little cursed. We had some big injuries at the taping. No real word on if it's. I feel like there's this constant push from Tony Khan to get Ring of Honor a television spot, but sometimes I feel like just putting Ring of Honor matches on AEW television isn't how you're going to do that.
I got a feeling that maybe we need to shutter Ring of Honor down if we can't give it to its own like TV show. It can't be its own thing. I feel like you dilute it with the AEW name and branding, and like really, if you watch Honor Club each week, it feels like Ring of Honor AEW Elevation.
Yeah, and honestly, if he goes, you know what, it's viable for me to keep Honor Club running, I'll keep that open. I genuinely feel like I just need more exclusive Ring of Honor stuff to be on Ring of Honor. This having Ring of Honor matches on AEW with no real explanation of what's going on in Ring of Honor isn't going to make people tune into Ring of Honor.
Because you're not presenting them a reason to spend $9.90 a month to watch yet another wrestling product, another hour of wrestling every week.
Like, one thing that this week I watched the episode this morning, actually, well, yesterday morning now. But they were a little short of material. Like I said, they had some injuries and stuff, so the matches obviously weren't aired on the taping. But kind of in lieu of it, what they did was they re-showed Samoa Joe taking on Kenta Kobashi. with Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman doing like current commentary over it and talking about like how crazy the match was then and what it meant to Ring of Honor and how cool it was to have somebody like Kenta Kobashi come in with Samoa Joe and everything. And I was like, this is kind of the stuff that I think would benefit Ring of Honor a lot, because you're showing one of the matches that, you know, made Ring of Honor very popular with fans. You're having this current commentary where they're talking about why it's important to the history of Ring of Honor and wrestling. Like, it just made everything feel a lot more important. I was like, man, if you put a segment like this, like, just show a clip of what they're doing here with this and be like, hey, check this out on Honor Club. I think that's a far better selling point than just putting a match on there with no context, really.
Or like, hey, let's have the Ring of Honor Men's Champion on AEW TV, and he may or may not get a pin. He may get pinned. Oh, hey, he might get challenged by Chris Jericho for a match at Wrestle Dream for the ROH title, and you have the ROH title not defended on a ROH pay-per-view.
Yeah, and Kimmy, I know Kimmy was angry the other day, and rightfully so, because Shane Taylor challenged Mark Briscoe in July or August, and we are now in October, and I think Mark Briscoe has only been on Ring of Honor twice since then.
And, you know, we were talking in our chat before we got on here to record the show. Why not shop Ring of Honor to like Fox Sports 1 instead of AEW Shopwave? You give them a Ring of Honor product. They can put it whenever they want to. Who cares? It could be like 11 o'clock on a Thursday night or maybe 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. Just get it
Just
on
show
there.
them Athena.
Exactly. Let them see some Athena matches and build this company back up. Because the one thing that has totally shot this thing from being anything what it should be is the fact that it feels like not even a third-rate brand of AEW. It feels like a feeder system to AEW proper.
Yeah, it genuinely just doesn't have its own identity right now, and that's, in my opinion, due to Tony Khan not wanting to give it its own identity. You want Mark Briscoe in AEW, but you want him to be the Ring of Honor World Champion. You want Dustin and Sammy to be the tag team champions, but you want to feature them on Collision. I just, you gotta separate this a bit. It's oversaturated and with, like I said, with no context, you're not really talking about the stuff that's going on in Ring of Honor. You're just like, hey, watch Ring of Honor, because this.
And it's not going to happen in 2024. You got to give people a reason to watch.
Especially when it's behind a paywall.
Exactly. I mean, like, you're not giving any of this away for free. I mean, hell, Billy Corgan for years put NWA Power on YouTube. You could literally watch it for free on YouTube. Then they took it behind a paywall, and that was probably the moment when NWA started to go downhill.
Yeah, NWA has been weird for the past few years.
Let's just let you get started there, because I could go on a rant about NWA.
I was going to say, that's a whole nother mess.
You know what? We'll talk about NWA Power next week on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Let's go on to our sixth and final Sunday question of the week as we celebrate the 5th anniversary of AEW Dynamite on TBS and TNT. And my question to you, Ashley, is what is one of the greatest things during this run of AEW Dynamite on the Turner Networks, and what was one of the biggest drop the balls in the last 5 years of Dynamite history?
This is such a crazy question. I don't have anything written down for this one because I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go with this one. I mean, I could say, I mean, this week may have arguably been one of AEW's biggest ups for them, Simon Miller. I feel like there was a lot of speculation on if they would get the TV deal, and they did. I feel like turning this company profitable in 5 years is something that will, I think, get overlooked by a lot of people that are kind of in bad faith, but that's remarkable. I would say if I go in-ring wise, like stuff like that, I genuinely want to say the C2 tournament. I think this is one of the biggest ups AEW has done. AEW has done a lot of tournaments in their 5 years, and I think it was genuinely from top to bottom had the best competitors, the best output of matches. Everything was like logical. We got stories coming out of it. We had stuff interwoven throughout it to start it. I just thought it was perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you. I feel like the biggest success of Dynamite is the fact that we're still talking about AEW Dynamite 5 years after it debuted on TV. Because literally, we forget that like a year and a half later after the debut, they entered the pandemic era of professional wrestling as a young company. And honestly, they could easily pull the plug then and go like, this is a tough time to do anything. We're not making money. We're losing money hands over fist. Let's cut our losses and let's just shut it down for a while. And maybe we don't have a fifth anniversary of Dynamite on AEW TV, but they stuck the course. They did what they needed to do to carry on for that time. And here we are 5 years later, and they got a new TV deal, proving a lot of AEW haters wrong.
And I will say one of the other things that I think is big is I know some people bring it up. I do think it was successful in bringing back some lapsed fans. I'm one of them myself. Like, I wouldn't be watching wrestling currently without AEW. And even if they checked it out when it first came out and they were like, you know what, it's not for me, some of those people still stuck around wrestling and maybe got back into WWE or found another promotion they really liked. So it's more about like what they did for like opening the door of wrestling to people who were maybe lapsed fans or new fans in general.
Well, we can carry this one step further. If we didn't have AEW debut 5 years ago, would we have the current hot streak of WWE programming? That might not be the case because they
That's
wouldn't have
true.
a
They were very
competitor.
cold for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a whole freaking 5 to 6 years after WCW closed down where WWE was on auto cruise and they were just putting out whatever they wanted, and it was not some of the best stuff ever. And once we got to the late 20 teens and AEW got on the scene, it lit a fire in the WWE going like, wait a minute, we have competition again. They might not see them as competition, but they kind of treat it that way and they kind of get back into the game.
I was going to say publicly they might not have seen him as competition, but it's always going to be competition.
Very true. Now, if I had to say one thing they dropped the ball on in the history of AEW/AEW Dynamite, it's Private Party. Literally, Xavier on Wednesday said on the second episode they had one of the biggest victories in the history of AEW TV, and yes, he was right. They defeated the Young Bucks on the second episode of Dynamite, but here we are 5 years later. Ashlee, have Private Party won the AEW titles? Are they anywhere higher in the ranks of AEW on tag teams by chance?
I think so. We discussed in the past like what winning the tag team titles did for the Guns, who won it at a time where I don't think anybody was really on board for them being the tag team champions. But now people look back on that and they're like, oh man, that was actually pretty good because the Guns grew into that title reign. And I feel like Private Party and a couple of other fundamental like day one AEW tag teams didn't really get that chance to get the gold and to see where they could go from there.
Well, okay, so I will say if you watched Rampage last night, they did get a victory over Young Bucks yet again in the six-man tag with Shibata as their tag team partner. And tonight on Collision, they have an opportunity to win a triple threat for a chance to face the Young Bucks for the titles. So maybe, just maybe, we'll get a Private Party victory there. And maybe we can finally elevate another of the long-term homegrown talents they have in Private Party. And I feel like that's one thing AEW can do better in the next 5 years. Focus on who you bring in, who is somebody you can build from the ground up. Not a import from New Japan Pro Wrestling, not it's WWE person, even though you do need those people so you get eyeballs to your product. Yes, but you still need to build other people.
Yeah, I mean, there's no arguing that. One other thing that I do think has been kind of like, no pun intended, a con for AEW is a little bit of Tony himself. Um, he's not had the best, uh, I would say, social media, Twitter interactions over the past few years. I feel like his management style with things like the CM Punk situation, for instance, is kind of something that cast a really big shadow over AEW for a long time, and it still feels like they're still trying to kind of come out from under that. And that to me stems back to a little bit of a lack of leadership and kind of preventative measures from Tony Khan before things got to the level that it did. So I would like to see him. I know you want to be friends with the boys, and you know you want to kind of be on everybody's good side, but I just don't think you can be. You have to be a boss when you need to be a boss, and as tough as it is, you gotta tell people no. Sometimes you gotta discipline people when they need it, and I think it's something that he needs to work on. Especially being as active as he is in everything AEW.
Ashley, I was thinking about this a couple of days ago, and you just reminded me of this. Tony Khan to me feels like somebody who never held a job growing up until he got to this point where he was able to start AEW from the ground up, and he lacks the practical knowledge of how a business works with him being like the head of something, being in charge of something that is totally on him. I feel like we're literally watching this guy learn how to manage on the job, and yeah,
Yeah,
he has basically bumped and scratched the car during the last 5 years because
right. I don't think it's all been horrible, but I think the instances that have been bad have been like, holy, like, what are you doing bad?
I mean, granted, there's some things where you cannot excuse this and make this the excuse for him not knowing how to do this. Some of the stuff
Right.
was clearly you should have known this from day one. This is like you just look at this going like this is not a great situation. I need to put this to bed. I need to make this decision. I need to cut face with somebody right now because they are running amok and this is not working.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he said some really out of pocket things about either former wrestlers or wrestlers on the talent. He's gotten into like little Twitter spats with even Shawn Michaels and Triple H and other fans who were commenting on his stuff. Like, these are the kinds of things I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is the kind of stuff that this is why you get the backlash you do, because you don't know to control yourself in these situations a bit.
Very true. It'd be interesting to ask Tony Khan what he would change from day one to now if he was able to go back in time. What would be his one piece of advice to his younger self? That would be a very interesting question to ask him.
Yeah, I think he would have a good answer. I think he's learned a lot over the past few years, so I'm hoping that this new contract will give him incentive to kind of buckle down and just focus on AEW, and Ring of Honor. I guess.
I'm hoping I hope that Ring of Honor exists in 2025. We'll just have to stay tuned. This has been your 76 questions here on Ray Free Professional Wrestling. Ashley, where can we find you on the super information super highway?
I'm usually on Twitter. It's at groovy_ash_. But also been posting a lot on Blue Sky, which is just groovyash.bsky.social.
And of course, you can follow this show on Twitter at Radio Free PW. You can go over to our YouTube channel, type in Radio Free Professional Wrestling, and you can see this episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Or you can go into our back catalog and watch some cool episodes. And until we see you next week on Radio Free Professional Wrestling, remember, this is our era. Guns freaking up.